Itch it up, my selector.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you gonna dig this.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Happy Saturday. It is Saturday, so that is a day for back-to-back Sucker Punch episodes featuring yours truly, Maestro, and my main man, Joe Habib. We got a pretty good show lined up for you. First hour here on this channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell. We're going to be talking about highly anticipated, especially in the UK, face-to-face, sit-down, interview-style show hosted by none other than Piers Morgan. And, of course, it featured Conor Benn taking on Chris Eubank Jr. Now, I was looking forward to this, Joe. I know you were looking forward to this. I know a lot of fight fans were looking forward to this. But before we get into our immediate response to this sit-down interview, just kind of lay the foundation, Joe, in terms of these two guys, this interviewer, I should say, and your thoughts about the whole thing going into this event. Go for it.
It looked like Piers Morgan had a goal here, right? And it looked like he was trying to rile both guys up. And to the point where Conor Benn got up and confronted Chris Eubank Jr., to me, it looked like throughout this whole interview that Piers Morgan was trying to push each fighter's buttons. More so, I thought Chris Eubank Jr., he was almost like, we talked about it before the show, he was trying to be like Dr. Phil with Chris Eubank Jr. almost. He was trying to break him down psychologically and almost try to be that guiding figure, so to speak, like a therapist. And to me, it looked like Chris Eubank Jr. wasn't taking the bait. On a couple of occasions, Conor Benn took the bait. But I do think, I always criticize Piers Morgan for doing this. It's almost like he's like some type of animal trainer, and he gives people instructions like, condemn Hamas. How do you feel about this? You must feel this way. It's almost like he wants you to repeat and answer questions the way he wants you to answer them. And at some point you say to yourself, well, listen, I'm not here to do what you tell me to do. I'm here to give an accurate representation of my thoughts, my opinions, my positions, my stances. And Piers Morgan pretty much, use these types of tactics, these shaming tactics, these gaslighting tactics, if you will, when he asks these questions. And it's almost like either you respond the way he wants you to respond, or there's something wrong with you, or there's some moral issue with you, right? And Chris Eubank Jr. just wasn't taking the bait, and I thought that was really, really clever on his part to just pretty much turn the tables back to Piers Morgan. Like, okay, well, I've already answered it. You're not going to get the answer you want. You're not going to get the soundbite you want, where he said basically, I know you're just looking for views, because you could tell that this was just basically a soundbite expedition in a lot of instances for Piers Morgan. So to sum it up in a nutshell, that's how I felt about the whole thing.
Yeah, well, going into this interview, the interest in this fight has definitely kind of grown grown a lot, I should say, over the past few weeks. Leading up to the moment where Chris Eubank Jr. obviously slapped Conor Benn with an egg, I think at that point the interest really increased. I remember going into the first fight, I said it was a meaningless fight for most people in most parts of the world. There's a fight between the sons of two British boxing legends. Outside of the United Kingdom, I didn't really feel like a lot of people cared that much about Chris Eubank Sr. or Nigel Benn, to be quite honest with you, let alone their sons. I have, as a fan of the sport, obviously respected those two guys, and as a fan of the sport, I've liked Chris Eubank Jr. I like his interviews. I think he's in entertaining fights. I actually really like Chris Eubank Jr. Now, Piers Morgan, that's another story altogether. I did want to show this real quick to kind of talk about Piers Morgan before we show clips of this. For those people maybe outside of England who don't necessarily know as much about him, he is a British tabloid journalist. He worked for News of the World, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, the Murdoch family that owns Fox News. Worked for the Daily Mirror. Worked for the Mail online. All of those are like tabloid magazines. And I honestly think, he also did that ITV show, Good Morning Britain, which is kind of like an even more tabloid version of Good Morning America. And you watch his show, Joe, I got to agree with you. It's people yelling at each other. It's kind of tabloidy more than it is, I'd say, actual journalism. And I thought that personally that he was really going to try to rile up these two to kind of get clickbait moments, because that seems to be what he's mostly about. So let's go to the kind of the video montage of this thing at the beginning, and then we'll go to some of the key moments, because they were teasing us with this all week, these little video clips of what this interview was going to be like, or debate. I don't even know what you call it. Let's have a look. This is kind of how they were setting us up. Let's go.
You check this prick for any eggs?
I don't need eggs, my friend. These fists are more than enough.
I'm just getting my makeup done, chaps. Probably not conducive with two pugilists.
I hate what he stands for. I hate what he did. Failing these two drugs tests is unacceptable.
No ban, cleared to fight, no fine.
It's not good.
That's why then. I don't care if he's good.
But that is true.
Was there drugs in your system?
Maybe not. None of your business. I think he's an absolute...
That one gets me every time. Were there drugs in your system or not? None of your business. How does that make sense? Were there drugs in? I'm fighting you. Were there drugs in your system or not? None of your business. Anyways, let's continue.
Idiot. You have a big head. Even your dad don't like you. That's an accomplishment.
What if I was to slap you right now?
Hands on me.
Stop moaning about it. A little push and shove.
Well,
That's
it's
a matter of
disrespect.
fact. How's that
You
disrespect?
can't give it and not take it.
So, they were teasing us with that during the week. I got to ask you, Joe, was what you saw what you were expecting?
Yes and no. I mean, the way it was kind of advertised is that it was like a heated interview from start to finish, and it really wasn't, because Piers Morgan, some of the questions, he just kept repeating himself over and over again. A big thing with me is when you ask a question and it's answered, but the fighter doesn't really answer your question, so to speak. He kind of dodges the question or evades the question, or just doesn't want to get into the topic that you're talking about. And I have a problem with people who interview and they don't get the response they want, or again, that you're not getting the interaction you want. The person that you're asking the question is really not engaging you at that particular time on that topic. And then you just keep asking the question over and over again, and you reword it and this and that, and then it becomes like, okay, now we know what you're trying to get this guy. Like, you're trying to trap this person at this point. He was just looking for sound bites, right? And sometimes, you're looking for something when it's not there. You just got to let it go, and he just wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, let's go to the first topic that they went into, Joe, which was, is Conor Benn a drugs cheat? I mean, this is probably the main topic if you think about what's causing the grievance between these two fighters. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go.
Cleared him to fight in this fight with you. So you might think he's a cheat, and you're perfectly entitled to your view. But the reality is, if he was a convicted cheat, he wouldn't be able to fight you. So do you accept that for the purposes of your fight, that he's not a convicted cheat? He's someone that you might think he is, but he's not been convicted of that.
Whether he's been convicted or not is irrelevant. The fact is, substances were found in his system. There have been thousands of fighters that have been popped for performance-enhancing drugs.
And been banned.
And been banned.
And been banned.
Or been fined.
Every single one. I've not received a fine. I've been cleared by 3 organisations, by the NADP, the WBC, UCAD, no ban, cleared to fight, no fine.
It's not good.
That's what I've done. I don't care if it's good.
But that is true, whether you like it or not. That is the truth of where we are.
That very
if
well
that's
may
your
well
argument,
be.
you need to do better. It's a pathetic
But
argument.
there are plenty of fighters, even now, in boxing today that have failed drugs tests. They've been fined or served bans, and then they've been let back into the ring. This is in no way different. He got caught. He went out of boxing for a little bit, spent $1 million trying to clear his name.
You know what? That's why you're an idiot.
No,
because I've been cleared by 3 organisations, by people who
The truth is, let's pause it right there, Joe, because, look, 2 things can be true, right? You can fail a drug test, and your opponent, who was supposed to fight you when you failed a drug test and ended up losing a multi-million pound/dollar payday, can have a grievance about that and be upset about that. So, I mean, both things can be true. But the other thing about this that I found interesting is that Piers really didn't acknowledge this point that Chris Eubank Jr. made, which I thought was a very good point, which is that he got cleared because he spent millions of pounds to clear himself, right? How many fighters could have done that? How many fighters could have brought in scientists and experts and PR people and lawyers and afforded to be out of the ring for as long as he was to, quote unquote, clear his name? I thought that was a pretty good point there by Eubank. But your thoughts on this first kind of grievance here between the fighters? Go for it.
Well, again, you lost time, money, and resources trying to defend yourself. So you were out of the ring for a period of time in which you didn't want to be out of the ring for. And you had to actually fight outside of the UK in order to fight because you weren't clear. Essentially, right, the way you want it, you can look at it however you want. He essentially did get a ban from the UK while he was under investigation. He was not allowed to fight, right, in the UK. And he's only going to be allowed to fight just recently in the UK. So you lost time, you lost money, right? And you weren't licensed to fight in the UK. And that's where you essentially wanted to fight. And the mega fight that you wanted to fight in could not take place as a result of you not getting a license in the UK. Because of course they're not going to put this fight in America. So Piers can say what he wants, but to some degree, this man did face some level of punishment as a result of his action. That's evident, in my opinion. I don't think it's even refutable. And that's number one. But number two, in the court of public opinion, and I don't even agree with this because I do believe that this system, this was found in a system due to some type of food contamination. I do believe that based on the amount that was in there at the time it was found, right? I do think this was a result of contamination. And obviously, they did do the research on it, and I do believe they have the scientific evidence to back that up, right? But it was a process. But whatever that, put that aside. Whatever you feel about that, put that aside. In the court of public opinion, usually when these things happen, the majority of the people are going to find you guilty. They're going to look at you as being guilty. Even to this day, they call Canelo Alvarez Clenello because of the clenbuterol. And fighters will sometimes bring it up.
Canelo meat or Mexican beef.
Yeah. And other fighters will bring it up as a means to try to get under Canelo's skin. And every time it's brought up, it aggravates Canelo. So these things, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the decision by any board, sanctioning body, or commission, you're going to be guilty in the court of public opinion by a large group of people. So that's something you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your career, unfortunately. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the VADA testing, because, again, adverse finding can mean anything. They don't tell you the full story, but that's another video we've
Well, I think the other thing that the public was really looking for with this that they never really received was like a concrete, logical explanation. They never got that, right? It was an issue of jurisdiction. Well, actually, first I think contamination, and it was a jurisdiction issue. Then it was some kind of synthesis argument inside your body I mean, people just weren't able to really follow a logical trail of argumentation. And I don't think like anything clear was, provided to Joe Blow on the street. No offense, Joe, to let him understand. But let's continue. Here we go.
He went out of boxing for a little bit, spent $1 million trying to clear his name.
You know what? That's why you're an idiot.
No,
because I've been cleared by 3 organisations, by people who are a lot smarter than you.
Was there drugs in your system?
This is you talking personal.
Was there drugs in your system?
Maybe not. None of your business. I've been cleared 3 times.
It is my business when you were preparing to fight me.
Yeah, but you don't know the ins and outs. You think you know.
Well,
me trying to explain it to you.
Hang on, let me ask you, Conor, on that point, because you raised it at one of the press conferences, and it's a valid point. Do you accept that these substances were found in your body?
There's nothing to accept.
No.
It's the facts.
No?
No.
It's the facts.
Because
I never took any.
I will give Piers some credit there, Joe, because he did ask him point blank, and that was a pretty good question. Do you accept that they were found in your body? And he said no. Well, I mean, was it even disputed that they were found in his body?
All he has to do is say, it may have been in my body, but I did not knowingly ingest the substance. It's such a simple answer. It may have been in my body. We did the investigation, and I had people, scientists, sports medicine type people, supplement people. I talked to all these people that are qualified to understand all of this. I may not understand it fully, but it has been explained to me. And this is why it was in my system. I did not knowingly ingest this. Just like Ryan Garcia said, Ryan Garcia never denied that it wasn't in his system. He said a lot of crazy, stupid things, but he never once denied that it was in his system. He just said that I did not knowingly ingest it. And all you have to do is just say, yeah, obviously it was there, but I did not knowingly ingest it, and this is why it was there. And by saying it's none of your business, I'm not going to talk about it, this, that, and the third, even the way Eddie Hearn had handled this, when you constantly are evasive when asked about something, whether you're right, wrong, or indifferent, no matter what ultimately the reason is, if you're evasive and you can't articulate your position, then people are going to draw their own conclusions. You're allowing people to draw their own conclusions because of the way you're responding to the questions.
Yeah,
so you're your own worst enemy.
Absolutely. And then he repeatedly complained about, pointed out the lack of intelligence, I should say, in his eyes of Chris Eubank, when again he was struggling to answer a very simple question. Here is the second biggest part, Joe, in terms of time spent on a topic, and it was about the relationship of each of the fighters with their fathers. I could have done with maybe 2 minutes on this topic. I think they ended up spending close to 15 minutes on this topic. Maybe more, actually. Yeah, about 20 minutes on this topic. Let's play a little bit of it, Joe. Have a look, have a listen. Here we go.
Because you have a very good relationship with your father.
Unbelievable relationship.
Has it always been good?
Yeah, he's my hero.
He's your hero.
He's my hero.
And he's been there throughout this process at your side.
He's probably struggled with it more than myself.
Why?
I'm his son. I'm his son.
Does he really want you to do this fight?
Of course. 100 million %. 100 million %. And I wish my dad done more than grab you by the throat the other day.
His father's upset more than him because he's destroyed his father's legacy.
I'm not there. Mate, you don't even get on with your dad. Talk about destroy your father's legacy.
Against the Benn's
Talk
name.
about destroy your father's legacy.
That is, that's actually what's
Let me ask you, Chris, because they have a very good relationship, Conor and his dad. But you do not currently have a relationship at all, as far as I'm aware, with your father. What's going on there?
What's going on there is life is going on. Sometimes fathers and sons, they don't see eye to eye. They don't get along. They fall out. It's unfortunate what is happening at this stage in my life with him.
Do you talk at all?
No, we don't. But
how long has it been like that?
Years.
How long since you last talked to him?
It's been a long time.
But give me a time scale.
I said years.
Yeah, but I'm only curious because.
So, Joe, I kid you
Once
not.
again,
that goes on for 15 more minutes.
Once again,
Actually, more than 15, like close to 20. Where he keeps asking the same thing over and over and over again.
You can't keep doing that, asking it several times, because now you just look like you're just. He's not going to answer it. Now you just make yourself look like an idiot by keep asking it. Oh, I want to know. I want to know. It's like when someone says, "I got a secret." I'm not going to tell you what it is. Oh, I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. It becomes juvenile at some point that you keep needling the guy with the same question. He's not going to answer it. Obviously, it's a substantial amount of time. Whether it's 3 years or 5 years, when you stop talking to somebody for years, that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? It's not a good thing.
No. And like I said, it went on for pretty much 20 minutes of just questioning him over and over again about, look, asked and answered. Third section here was on the dangers of getting into the ring. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go.
Conor, like I said, I was ringside when your dad fought Gerald McClellan, and there was an interview, very powerful interview recently in the Daily Mail with Gerald McClellan, who is now cared for by his sister and basically doesn't leave his wheelchair and hasn't done since that fight. And I remember Frank Warren, who was the promoter that night, coming up to me.
Did you notice all of that sniffling that kept happening throughout the interview?
Yeah,
that was Conor Benn, the constant sniffling.
Yeah, that's kind of a nervous. That's kind of a nervous reaction sometimes when someone's nervous. They're constantly taking deep breaths, and they have to go to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna go there with it. I know where you're going. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not going there with it. But that's a sign of some type of distress.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
it was excessive. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not going anywhere with it, by the way. But
Yeah.
I did notice it throughout the interview.
Yeah.
Newspaper at the time, and he said to me, "Go back to your newspaper because both fighters are going to hospital, and we could lose one or both of them tonight." And it really brought home to me the brutality of this sport. I think it's a magnificently noble sport. I think the courage that both you guys and all the boxers
there it is again.
show. I've got to know a lot of boxers, and I'd find all of them heroic people in terms of the courage it takes to get in that ring. but there's also a real danger.
You think he's talking about Zelensky the way he's going on here, Joe? I mean, he's really, really laying it on thick. Really thick.
Once you get in that ring. And when the hatred is at the level that you two have, you know, I remember it with Ben, your dad, and McLennan. It was real. And then when they went at each other, to be ringside, to see the power they hit each other, the ferocity, it just felt animalistic in there. Do you fear that could happen again here?
No, not at all. It's not my intentions, and I assume that's not Chris's intentions. Ultimately, I don't like the man, and I don't have to like him. Every single person I fight, I hit with bad intentions. It's the name of the game. We know what we're in for. We know what we've signed up for. Our life's always on the line. That's our choice. You know, ultimately, we prepare extremely hard. We're elite athletes. We do the best we can. But the end goal is to never ruin someone's life. Our goal is to go in there and beat the other man.
Do you feel the same way, Chris? If you're honest?
Honestly, I'm shocked he's speaking like this. It doesn't match the energy that I've been seeing over the last few days. And, you know, I don't like it. You know, it's true. What he's saying is true. But, you know, this is not as a fighter supposed to be the mentality going into a fight.
What's your mentality?
My mentality is search and destroy. You know, I've been in fights where I have hospitalized people. Nick Blackwell, you know, he died on the way to hospital when we fought. He was revived with an adrenaline shot to his heart. Now he doesn't walk, or he doesn't speak well, and you know, he's been severely affected by the fight that we had. Going through something like that, it makes it real, and it turned me cold, because I knew that this is possible. This isn't a movie. This isn't a video game. This happened, and it could happen again. It could happen to me if I don't dedicate myself. So I'm extremely passionate when it comes to that.
So there you have it, Joe. Another kind of, I guess, emotion-inducing topic brought to the forefront by Piers Morgan. What exactly do you think he was trying to accomplish there by interjecting the topic of death and permanent damage into the discussion?
I don't know. He's trying to maybe humanize both guys and trying to get them to warm up to each other a little bit. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's more of this whole Dr. Phil thing where he's trying to present that maybe these guys, even though they're fighters, they have a soft side to them as well, a human side to them as well. I don't know. That's what I got from it.
I just felt that it was like kind of a depressing kind of topic to be going through. Like, we're trying to promote a fight here, guys. What are we doing?
When you're getting ready for battle, the last thing in the world you want to do is humanize yourself. You, as men, we have a primal side to us, right? We have that aggressiveness to us. That's what makes us men, you know. Whether you accept it or not, whether some people look at it as a positive or a negative, the reality is it's still there. A man in his prime has that ability to be aggressive. It's instinctive that we fight, right? We're territorial by nature. We're combative by nature. And as we get older, we have to try to tamper that down. But when you're in that ring, it's beneficial to be able to call upon those things as a man. And it's almost like Piers Morgan was trying to like fucking neuter these guys right before they're going into the biggest fight of their career. And that's not what you want. And Chris Eubank was just basically trying to say, listen, You're trying to get me to have some sort of compassionate sense to me going into this fight. And that's not going to help me. I need to want to hurt this guy. I'm trying to beat this guy up in order to win. Right?
Yeah.
And
he pointed that out later on in his response that basically he's trying,
right?
He sees what he's doing here. He's trying to like
give up that
sensitize him, I guess.
Why would I give up that edge?
Yeah.
Right.
So that was followed, believe it or not, by a discussion of, whether or not they can have fire inside them, despite the fact that they grew up rich. And I thought that Chris Eubank's response to that was quite interesting. He pointed out essentially that his father went broke and bankrupt when he was quite young, and they went from living in a mansion to pretty much living, low income, kind of working class. I don't think a lot of people knew that. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Joe?
I did not know that, actually.
Before the interview, right? So I guess Piers gets a little bit of credit for breaking that one out. But here is what I think a lot of people were there to talk about, or at least watch or see them talk about, the egg slap. So here we go.
Between us. I'm not going to say hate because it's too strong of a word.
I mean, at the first press conference, you pulled the stump with the egg and you smashed it around his face. Some people laughed. Others thought it was all good, part of the sporting thing. Other people felt it was quite a demeaning moment to reduce it to whacking your opponent with an egg. I mean, on reflection, are you pleased you did that, or do you think that it was a bit childish?
On reflection, I wish I had an egg in both hands. That's the truth of it. The egg.
You want to get the second one off? Hold it absolutely on.
The egg was it was a symbol.
Oh, sure.
It was a statement.
What was the statement?
That if you cheat, you will be punished. You will be embarrassed. You will be exposed.
Cleared. Okay. 3 times.
Cleared by people I don't know and don't care about.
You're the one who's an idiot.
Conor, how does it make you feel when he repeatedly calls you a cheat?
That's his job. Because if I was him, I'd probably do the same. So I get it.
And he's trying to get in your head. He's trying to discredit you.
He's still going to get ironed out and flattened April 26th. It really don't make no difference. Say what you want. The reality.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear him say something like that, I literally laugh out loud. Like it's down to my belly. Like, who is believing this? I legitimately want to know who believes that Chris Eubank Jr. is going to get ironed out, head splattered all over the place by Conor Benn, a guy who literally couldn't crack an egg in his last 2 fights at 154, mind you. I'm just not buying it. Let's go to the super chat real quick, Joe. We got one here from Virtuoso. Salute, Virtuoso. True Jordy should have conducted a sit down with those two. Piers is too civilized. Just my 2 cents. Your thoughts? Now, I'm personally not a big fan of True Jordy. I don't really think he brings much to the table. But what are your thoughts?
True Jordy does the same things that Piers does. He'll sit there and needle people over and over again until he gets the answer he wants. I'm not a huge fan of True Jordy either. I think he's too emotional too. If he doesn't like somebody, it's pretty evident in the video.
We saw that with Tyson Fury.
Yeah. He was trying to go at Tyson Fury, and it's fine. You don't like the opponent. And you mentioned it one time, but the whole interview was based on level of opposition, again, like the fight is happening. You have to accept the fact that he's fighting Dillian White or Derek.
No, it wasn't. It was Derek Chisora. And the funny thing, it's like asked and answered. We know why he fought Derek Chisora. It's his friend. Well, he's promised him this fight.
What does he like when you ask a question about that, right? With the Derek Chisora question. And you kept banging on about it the whole interview. What do you expect him to say? Yeah, I know this is a fight nobody wants to see, and I don't care. I'm just doing it for the money. I'm just fighting this guy because I'm getting paid a lot of money. I don't care what the fans think. Like, what do you expect? Of course, he's not gonna down a fight that he's involved in.
Yes.
And to sit there and expect him to talk shit about a fight that he's involved in is ridiculous. It was like when Larry Merchant was sitting there interviewing Bernard Hopkins, I think when he fought, I forget who he fought. When he just got through fighting Winky Wright or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, you just beat a junior middleweight. Listen, Larry, the network that you work for bought the rights to the fight. So if you don't like the fight, talk to your boss. I mean, like, what are you're sitting there shitting on the fight that your own.
You're blaming the fighter. The fighter's not financing the fight. The fighter's being paid to fight this guy.
Your network financed the fight, but you're talking shit about Bernard Hopkins for taking the fight. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, good point. Let's hear a little bit more of this. Let's go.
Well, it is. The facts are, let's talk factual, not opinion, not I don't like the conclusion. The facts are, I've been cleared 3 times.
The facts are, he's saying that the stuff wasn't even in his system. That's what he said. Those are the facts. He said that the drugs weren't in his system. Piers Morgan asked him earlier on, and he clearly stated that.
Whose IQ is a lot smarter than him. He's got the IQ of a 5-year-old child. So I'm not going to listen to him. Actually, if you feel that way, and that's great. I do not need anything to splatter your head on the canvas. I do not need anything at all. It's going to happen regardless. April 26th.
You're going to need.
I mean, Chris, he has said about you.
The canvas.
Chris, Conor has said about you that you've underachieved in your career.
Oh, massively.
And you're still not out of your dad's shadow. And it is important to note you fought 3 times since the cancellation of that first fight, and you were knocked out by Liam Smith.
He was knocked out by a guy, by the way, who would beat Conor Benn in my eyes. Talk to me, Joe, about this whole narrative of that Conor Benn keeps bringing up. This idea that, you know, he got knocked out by Liam Smith. I don't think Conor Benn beats Liam Smith. Your thoughts?
I don't think so either. I think all the guys that Chris Eubank Jr. lost to, I think Conor Benn would lose to. So what are we really talking about here? If you fought the same level of opposition than he fought, then you would not be undefeated either, at least in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So, no. And you've never fought for a world title. And you're 28 years old. It's not like you're some spring chicken either. Like, you're 28 years old and you have not fought for a world title yet. So.
Absolutely. And, I mean, the height of the whole thing happened here. And look, this is what they were selling us on 3-4 days out from the airing of this particular show. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go.
You basically threatened Nigel Benn. Said if he did that again, you deal with him. And
it wasn't a threat. It was a promise.
Oh, it's not a promise, is it?
You can't touch
scumbag.
You can't.
Well, we did.
So you can throw an egg in his face, and his father can't.
No,
me and him are fighting.
You're just upset.
Me and you are fighting.
Can't stand you. And my dad has my back. You are. That's all.
I'm not upset.
My dad put.
Me and you are fighting. Whatever happens between us,
my dad would put his arms around you. What are you going to do about it?
No one else.
What are you going to do about it? Tell me.
I find it funny, Joe, that he's concerned that Chris Eubank Jr.'s threatened his father in like this hypothetical way. But he's right here stating that his father is going to put his hands around his neck again. And saying to him, what are you going to do about it? It's like he's goading him and then pretending to be the victim. I don't really like it before we show the rest of this, but go for it. What are your thoughts?
Is any man and a fighter, for that matter, going to allow
my dad is going to put his hands around your neck? My dad is bigger than your dad.
Again, when you attack another person, regardless of why you did it, you have to accept the fact that there's going to be physical repercussions. If a man puts his hand on another man, that man that's putting his hands on the other man has to realize that there could be some repercussions to his actions. So I don't care why he did it. I'm not going to sit there and let someone choke me out. No. I'm going to fucking defend myself. And
that's all he's been. That's all he's been saying.
Just don't put your hands on me. Like it's your live game. It's like it's on if you touch me, right?
Yeah, he's just again. Here we go.
You deal with him, and
it wasn't a threat. It was a promise.
Oh, it's not a promise, is it?
You can't touch
scumbag.
You can't.
Well, we did.
So you can throw an egg in his face and his father can't.
No,
Me and him are fighting.
You're just upset.
Me and you are
dad
fighting.
Can't stand you. And
I'm
my
not
dad has
upset.
my back. You are. That's all. That
I'm not
was.
upset.
My dad put.
Me and you are
his
fighting.
hands
Whatever
around you,
happens
what are you
between
gonna do about it?
us
My dad would put his arms around you. What are you going to do about it?
No one
What are you
else.
going to do about it? Tell me.
No one else can touch
Tell
me.
me. Tell
And
me.
if they do, there'll be
Tell me.
consequences.
Consequences to what?
If
What's
anyone
to
else,
slap you right now?
if anyone else touches me,
What, if I was to slap you right now, what are you going to do about it?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, talk about my dad.
I'm not talking about your dad.
No.
But I told him.
But
I told him.
He literally, this is all manufactured. He literally said, my dad is going to do it again. What are you going to do about it? And then gets up with this righteous indignation and threatens to slap him again. Look, it was an A+ performance for me from Chris Eubank Jr. Do you want to see any more of this scene? You want me to continue to play this?
His dad's not going to put his hands on him again because he actually apologized for doing it in the first place. So if his dad's apologizing for it and then you want him to do it again, there seems to be a disconnect here in the messaging in the Benn family, in my opinion.
100%.
Please.
My old man would never touch you, so your old man's never going to touch me.
I'll never slap you.
You
I
would
would
never slap me.
Yeah, no, I won't
You
slap
put your
you.
hands on me twice since my last fight.
When?
You pushed me.
Push, a little push.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You put your hands on me.
Little push and stuff.
You
Stop moaning
put your
about
hands
it.
on me.
Stop moaning about it. A little push and shove. Stop moaning about it. Talk about my dad.
You put your hands on me, I
he's
put
moaning
my
about
hands
it.
on
He
you.
threw an egg in your face as a result of it. He's not. It's not moaning about it. You're
Listen,
moaning.
man,
You're
listen,
sitting there
Joe.
moaning. You're sitting there moaning about getting an egg in your face. Then you're
what-
moaning about your dad putting his hands on someone's neck, and you're moaning about him retaliating. You're the only one who's moaning right now. He's just telling you what's gonna happen, and you're not happy with it, so you're moaning about it, not him.
I'm gonna just say something. I'm not a fake tough guy. You're not a fake tough guy. I don't go out in the world looking for problems. But if a man puts his hands on me, there is going to be a response. There will be a response. I don't know what you're doing with your hands. I don't know if you've got a weapon on you. I don't know, like, for somebody just to come out of the blue and, oh, it's just a little shove. It's no big deal. No, you put your hands on me. And by the way, we're going to get into this a little bit in hour number 2 as it relates to Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barboza and what happened with them. But putting your hand, look, there's no rule that says, oh, if you push me, I'm not allowed to hit you back. Or if you push me, I'm not allowed to respond or climb the escalation ladder as I see fit. Go for it.
And this is a one-on-one confrontation. It's not like a group of people were ganging up on your son. Now, Nigel has had a legitimate concern. He said, I thought he had a bottle or something and he hit my son.
There was no bottle. They saw
But
the
again-
egg splatter all over his face. They were closer than we were.
Well,
there was no glass.
Yeah, so again, like that's questionable. But
It's beyond questionable.
yeah, this was a one-on-one confrontation.
Yeah.
And you're a grown man. You don't need your daddy to defend you anymore at this point.
No.
So it's not like you're a child and some adult hit you. You're a grown adult man. You should be able to defend your own battles.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I went to
and if I was Chris Eubank Jr., you know what my response would be? Hey, listen, we're both grown men and we're both adults. We're getting ready to go in the fight and exchange fists. Do you still need your daddy to protect you at this age? That's what I would say to him. That's what I would say to him.
I went to a high school where there were a lot of people that did inappropriate, immature things, and one of those things was egging people. Nobody got egged and thought they got hit with a glass. Like, I'm sorry, like that didn't happen. Anyways, there was a couple more things. This to me though was like the most cringe part of it, apart from what we just saw. And I'm talking, of course, about the insistence that these guys shake hands. And we've seen this happen before in other, face-to-face, across the table kind of interviews that are, designed to elicit some kind of confrontation between the two combatants. Piers did it, he asked them to do a handshake. We've seen Ade ask guys to do handshakes. We've seen other people do it. I guess he's seen enough of those to ask them to do it himself. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Here we go.
Moments and tones. There have been times when you've both been very open with me. Human, actually, in a way I wasn't expecting. And then other times, as we've seen, when suddenly hasn't taken much to get you guys at each other's
No,
throats.
one guy.
There's
not
a lot
both
of
guys.
simmering anger there between you. I think partly genuine animosity between the two of you, but also the legacy that you both clearly feel of Benn versus Eubank, carrying that generational burden on your shoulders, living up to your fathers, who were two of the greatest fighters this country's ever produced. There's a lot going on here. I can feel it. There's a lot of complex emotions. What do you think happens when that bell goes for round one?
You guys are going to see one of the best fights in British boxing history. That's what I think happens.
Conor?
He gets signed out in 4 rounds.
What do you think happens?
The procedure will be parliamentary.
To quote your father.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that even in that moment, you're thinking of him,
Oh, here we go, bringing it back.
mimicking the way he talks.
Dr. Phil, here we go, Dr.
We are our father's sons. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. And I will uphold the family name.
When we saw your fathers together earlier, they refused to shake hands at the end of being interviewed. Would you shake hands together now?
Of course I would.
No. This is not a time to be cordial. You know, if there's ever a day that he comes clean about what happened and why it happened, why he failed those drugs tests, then we can talk about shaking hands. Until that time, no respect will be given to this kid. None.
Even though he's just magnanimous.
That was so hard for me to do, by the way.
Well, I know.
It was so hard for me to not slap you across the face when we had that face-off. So hard. And my mum will be really proud of me because I promised I won't do anything stupid. And I liked.
She would be so proud of him. He literally just said that his father was going to put his hands around Chris Eubank Jr.'s neck. And then Chris Eubank Jr. said, well, then I'm going to have to respond. He got up and was trying to provoke a fight. But now he's trying to act like, you know, he's this kid that's been on his best behavior and mom is going to give him a cookie at the end of the day. So, I mean, Joe,
Listen.
this goes on for like another 10 minutes of Piers asking him if they're going to shake hands.
Listen.
Joe, go for it.
Where I come from, there's no warning shots. If you're going to slap somebody in the face, you just do it. You don't tell somebody what you're going to do. All right? Because usually when you tell somebody what you're going to do, that means you don't want to do it. And you're hoping that when you tell someone what you're going to do, that there's a chance that they may back down. And when someone calls your bluff, then, you know, you have to do it. If you don't do it, then that means you never really wanted to do it in the first place. So don't sit there and say you want to slap this guy in the face. You don't want to slap this guy in the face because you would have done it already. He wanted to smash an egg in your face, and he didn't ask for permission. He didn't give you a warning shot. He brought the egg there, and he just slapped it in your fucking face. So don't tell people what you're going to do. You either do it or you don't do it.
Yeah.
That's simple.
No,
That's simple.
I agree. So talk to me, Joe, your thoughts of the performance of the 3 individuals involved in this highly promoted, highly hyped sit-down conversation. If you could just give a grade out of 10, 0 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, to Piers Morgan, to Conor Benn, and to Chris Eubank Jr. individually, how do you score these 3 participants and what happened yesterday afternoon for us?
Piers Morgan gets a 5, Conor Benn gets a 3, and Chris Eubank Jr. gets a 10.
Yeah, I honestly I agree with that 100%. Do I actually 5? What did you give Conor Benn?
A 3.
No, okay, that's where I disagree. I give Conor Benn a 0.
Okay.
And I didn't think that he did anything good.
No, I don't think he did anything good.
I'd like to give him a
I'll
little
him
bit of
credit
a
for one
score, but
thing.
what did he do at all? Like, he didn't do anything good.
I'll give
I
him
at least
credit.
give Piers, he did a couple questions that were interesting. We found some new information, so I
Yeah.
can't give him a 0.
I'll give him
You know,
credit.
maybe I give him a 6, actually, Piers Morgan. He got some information. Go for it.
I'll give Conor credit for one thing, where
Yeah.
he said that I don't know if I do believe this was genuine, that he did believe that him and Chris Eubank's father should probably stop talking again. He thought it was, I think he did feel genuinely bad that Chris Eubank is not talking to his dad.
You know why that didn't land very well for me?
Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
Because it's so hypocritical. He said it multiple times. Your own father doesn't like you. Your own father doesn't want to be around you. Da, 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 da. So
Yeah.
how are you going to say all of this stuff? And then
Yeah, I
say,
don't-
actually, I'd really like it if you had a good. Come on, stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he doesn't really believe that Chris Eubank Jr.'s father doesn't like him. I don't think he believes that. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. And the last thing I want to ask you about, Joe, we did hear reports I read reports that Chris Eubank Jr. was fined £100,000 by the British Boxing Board of Control. So does that mean that any fighter that does that is like risking bankruptcy? Because I mean, not a lot of fighters can afford £100,000 for an egg slap. I mean, how do they come up with that number?
It's probably a percentage of the purse is what they do. Didn't Devin Haney have to pay a fine when he pushed Lomachenko at that weigh-in? I think too. So
yeah, and that was based on a percentage of the purse as well. You're right.
Yeah, so I it's not uncommon, but I do think $100,000. I mean, it seems excessive, but who knows what these guys are making? So I'm sure it's reflective of the purse.
Do you think that this sit down with Piers Morgan has helped at all in promoting the fight? Do you think people are going to be more interested now than they were because of the size of his platform?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah. So overall, you think he did a decent job?
Yeah, I actually liked the whole thing. I found it funny. I laughed a few times when I was. You laughed a few times listening to it too. So obviously,
yeah, I did. It was entertaining.
Must have had some type of entertainment.
But I was always going to watch the fight, though. I'm thinking more, along the lines of like the casual sports fan. I felt it might have been a little bit too like sentimental and like sensitive for promoting a fight. In my, I don't know. I'm thinking of like the guy that doesn't watch all of the fights but wants to watch the big fight. That I don't know. To me, he was trying to present them as like very sensitive, like emotional, almost like beta masculine like characters. I don't know. That particular aspect of it I felt was kind of interesting in terms of selling a fight.
It was a little corny,
right?
Yeah.
So there you have it. Anything else, Joe, that you'd like to go over?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I think that I talked to you this morning, and anecdotally, a friend of mine actually texted me about the fight, and he generally is more American based. He's a casual American based fan, and usually texts me for like fights like Canelo or Tank or something like that. And I wouldn't think to have heard from him about this fight, but he mentioned this fight to me, and I was actually surprised. So this fight may get some crossover appeal from the American fan base. It could be because we have YouTube, TikTok, we have Twitter, we have the social media, and a lot of clips have been put up of the exchanges at these press conferences, and obviously the egg slap heard around the world. Maybe that, obviously, I think did add something to the fight, not just domestically, but maybe internationally. So we'll see. We'll see.
There you go. So there you have it. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button, and join us for hour number 2. I think some of you might be a little bit surprised of my take of the slap heard around the world. Teofimo Lopez Jr., the takeover, took over the press conference. He also took over the one in New York that I was at, and slapped Arnold Barboza. Very interesting. I definitely think Teo's doing a good job at selling the fight, but we'll talk about this, and I'm going to get Joe Habib's opinion on the return of One Time. Keith One Time Thurman might be back. But before we can make a final, decision on that, I'm going to ask Joe to chime in on it. So hour number 2, Sucker Punch, link is in the chat. Join us over there, guys, and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you tune in here on this channel tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, okay? 3 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m., I think, UK time until you guys switch up your clocks over there. So a little bit earlier for you this week, 10 p.m. UK time over there in the UK. Ringside Reporter Live, the Sunday show, the flagship show with the one and only Joe Habib and the one and only Eric Lorda tomorrow night right here on this channel. So tune in then. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.